This is 911. State your emergency. Hello? I can't help you if I don't know where you're at, honey. Where are you at? Where are you? I need as many units as I can get for Fairfield Road. Give me the numbers.
911, what's your emergency?
Hey friends, it's Fletch. I'm Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Welcome to this new podcast series, Off the Cuff, Confessions of an ENP. Brought to you by 911 Inform, delivering next-generation 911 services for the enterprise today and making every second count. In this series, we're going to be talking to ENPs that have been on the job for years, as well as those brand new ENPs that have just passed the test. We'll dig in and have an in-depth conversation and find out what the ENP certification means to them. We'll talk about why they did it, what it means for their career, and what they did to pass the exam. Industry certifications are important to industry professionals, and the ENP certification is one that's admired by many in public safety. So join me as we find out exactly what makes an ENP tick in this off-the-cuff podcast series, Confessions of an ENP. Hi, I'm Mark Fletcher. I'm Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Welcome to a brand new episode of Off the Cuff, True Confessions of an ENP. Today we've got somebody all the way down in Chattanooga, Tennessee, who just passed her ENP. I'd like to bring up on the screen Sarah Austin. Sarah, welcome to the Off the Cuff podcast, and congratulations on your ENP.
Thank you.
So how long have you been dispatching down at Hamilton County in Chattanooga? By the way, the most beautiful place on the planet.
Thank you. I will be here for 15 years this September.
Wow. So you're making a career out of this, safe to say.
Yeah. Yep, I enjoy it.
What made you get into dispatch? I mean, why did you choose this path?
My dad actually was a sheriff's deputy with the sheriff's office, Hamilton County, and he recommended it to me when I was like 20. So I thought about it, and then I finally applied, and here I am.
Wow.
All these years later. So
when did you realize that was going to be the job for you? Because what I find for most people, they get in there and at some point, whether it's the first day or the first week, but they go, oh my God, this is in my blood.
it was in the first week or so, definitely, because I saw how fun and how fast paced it was. And it's for someone like me, with ADHD and everything, it's never the same day. It's never, every day is different. So you don't get bored.
Wait a minute, a dispatcher with ADHD?
Mm.
No, that's an oddity. I think that's on the job application, isn't it?
It should be, yeah.
So what did you do to get your ENP? What brought you down that path? Why did you get it, first of all?
Well, I am one of those people that if I stay stagnant for too long, I get bored, and it's just not a good thing. So I always try to push for more training, whatever I can get my hands on, just start going towards. After I finished my education outside of here, like in college, I decided it was finally time to buckle down for the EMP. And so I started studying, and I studied just whatever we had in-house training that we had, whatever I could pick up online. And then I joined a couple study groups, and that's how I ended up going towards it. So I just that self-motivation to try to keep pushing myself to see how much I could learn.
So I'm sure, just like everybody, when you first started to look at the book, you said, oh my God, I am never going to absorb all this stuff. Why is this book so big? When did it start to click for you? Or what made it start to click for you? Was it the peer support? Was it the study groups? What kind of triggered it for you? Is from because everybody's individual, right?
Well, when I started going through the body of knowledge, that's where I started, just to see the comprehensive, streamlined version of what I needed to know. I realized like a lot of it is already stuff that we're doing day in, day out. So it's not as intimidating as it initially appears, just because there's a lot of technical jargon. It's stuff that we're still doing, stuff that we're still using. And as long as for me, once I was seeing as a term or a situation, if I could correlate it to something that I already knew how to handle, like in person, I was like, okay, that makes sense. That's what this is, so that's, for me, that's what helped a lot, is just being able to make it that correlation from book technical jargon to real life application of it.
Right. Now, you said earlier when we were chatting before this that you actually went through two different study groups.
Mhm. I did. I started with Tracy Eldridge's on scene first, and she's amazing. She was phenomenal. Some of the little mnemonics that she came up with to help you remember stuff, it's truly, truly great.
She's one of those people that can take I already know how this works and this has nothing to do with public safety, but here's how the logic applies
Uh-huh.
and it's the same thing. And you're like,
Yes,
oh, I know this. No problem.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like especially like when she was talking about like conventional and trunked radio systems and stuff, I was like, oh, okay, that does make sense.
Yep.
That's perfect. And I also joined the Mission Critical Study Group.
Been around for a long time. Yep.
Yes, and that was very, very helpful. Extremely, just very detail oriented and very, very helpful as far as getting those last few little things that I wasn't understanding fully to get that little nudge there.
I find that generally when people are new to the field or new to the industry, taking Tracy's course first gets that, okay, now I understand the technology and I understand the parts of the machine. And now you go take the mission critical one separately that gets more into the ooey gooey technical
Yes.
details. You better understand how the machine works. And then you
Hmm.
walk out with this incredible knowledge that, back when I first took the ENP, very little of that was there. I think Mission
Yeah.
Critical was running theirs on and off. It wasn't even really steady like it is today. And then Colorado kind of had a library of stuff and videos that you could go back and resource. But man, it was you had to work to find study materials now.
Yes.
And I'm really glad to see all of the new courses that have come out. And like I said, Tracy's done a great job of really. I don't even want to call it dumbing down because it's not dumbing down. It's just
Hmm.
correlating to something you already know, which
Right.
is which is great. And a lot of people, when
It makes it less intimidating.
yeah, and we've opened it up to dispatchers, and dispatchers are typically less technical than the other people, right? Because
Mhm.
they're not exposed to that. So with this massive influx of people, that type of training is something they respond to very well, which is
Yes.
great because it broadens out the whole ENP base.
Hmm.
This last group, I think there were in your group coming through, I think there were 42.
Hmm.
So
That's a great. It's fantastic.
so what did you think about your score when you finally got your score through? Were you
I
happy
was
with it?
I was extremely happy because it was a pass. I was just very, very happy. I'm not a good test taker, so I was very nervous. But somehow I managed it, I was very, very happy, very pleased.
How did you do your test? Did you do it online or in person?
I did it online.
Okay.
So,
What'd they make you go through beforehand?
goodness. I can show you a picture later, but I did it at our conference room at work on a Sunday evening. So I knew I was there by myself. Nobody would interrupt. There is a giant TV screen behind me, and
Oh,
they actually made me go cover it with a blanket
yeah.
because I couldn't unplug it because it was like internally plugged in, like in
Yeah.
the wall. So it was
Like,
insane.
people ask, well, what do they look at as far as the room? And I'm just like, have you ever had a colonoscopy? Because it's kind of like that externally.
I didn't expect to be like getting down on my knees, taking my computer and showing them underneath the table and underneath my chair and everything. It was very intense.
Yeah. No, the company that Nina hires to build the test, track all the questions, because there's a couple of thousand questions in the question
Hmm.
bank, and they
Right.
pull two test forms every year. Um, and then on the NIB, we go through that, and we just did the two forms for coming up in, I guess it'll be out there in the fall is when they'll be used.
Okay.
But we actually take the test twice
Mhm.
every year when we come up with the new forms. But it's very methodical what they do. Like if the question has been used before, we see that how many times the question has been offered, and then we see every answer that's been selected and the percentage. Well, 12% answered B. The correct answer was D. And we look and we say, oh, we asked the question, 56 people got the correct 56% got the correct answer, and 40% chose B, which was
Mm-hmm.
not. I'm like, well, gee, that's a lot. Why did so many people choose the wrong answer?
Right.
And oh, did we not word the question well enough? And I think there's no set rule, but we try to shoot for 80% get the correct answer correct. And that happens to align with the number of people that pass the exam. About 80% pass every time.
Mm-hmm.
And that just seems to be work out mathematically. If the more questions we hit at 80%, that's a good test.
Mm-hmm.
You got to know enough, but it's not so hard you can't pass it, right? Nobody's
Right.
looking. Although we do sit there and dream up the tough questions. We'll throw a few of those.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, only 30% of the people got this. Yeah, that's a tough one. But there's reasoning behind it,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you read the question correct and if you knew the content, you would get it right.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just a good stumper question.
Right.
And then we'll let a few, 9-1 blank. What's the last digit? We'll throw a couple of those in there as well.
I think I
Maybe
had a
not,
couple ones like that in mind. So
maybe not
thankfully.
quite that easy, but you know where I'm going with that.
Right.
So, how long did it take you to take the test? Do you think? Did you have enough time?
Oh yeah, I had enough time to actually go back and double check because the way the online test was, it was really neat because you could actually flag each question that you weren't sure on.
Yep.
So I went ahead and just answered all the ones I knew,
Yep.
the ones I felt confident in. If I didn't feel confident or if I took too long to look at it to try to figure it out, I flagged it and then I kept coming back
Yep.
and just looking it over. So I finished the actual first run of it within an
Okay.
hour and a half maybe. And then I still had plenty of time to go back, look at each of these answers, try to go back and forth and toggle between them to figure out which was the best one. So
And sometimes, so you take the test the same way I took the test. And I took the test twice. The first time and in my first research, I went down to the center and took it. And by the way, when you take it in person, it's the same format. You've got a computer screen and you can check and pass
okay.
and come back and do it. And you do the exact thing I do. I blow through the questions. If I know it right off the top of my head, boom, answer it. And then I'll go back and look at all the flagged questions. Sometimes you will hit a question later that goes back and answers the one you weren't sure about
Yep.
before. And I go through the test twice. Now, what I don't do, I usually have time for, but what I don't do is go through the test a third time. Because that, I believe, personally, that's when you'll start second guessing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's good.
Yeah,
Some
see, I
people
don't.
like to do that.
Now, see, on the answers that I knew, I didn't even go back to look at them.
Good for
I
you.
only went on the ones that I flagged until I could narrow those down and pinpoint the better answers of what I thought was the best answer.
Yeah. Look, I look at it this way, right? If you know it, you know it. If you don't, you got it wrong, and you need to know you got it wrong.
Exactly.
That's the one thing I don't like about the test. You don't know which ones you didn't get right.
I know how many I got right in each section, but
Yeah. So which section did you do the best and the worst on?
the worst was definitely the tech side of it.
Everybody says that. Why is that? Why do you think that is?
I know with mine, I studied so hard on the central office and all those, the basics of it. I think I got stuck on the basics more than expanding it a little bit further because there are questions I know that term, but I don't know what that means anymore. I didn't get that in depth with it. So I think I got a more broader scope on my test than what I was expecting.
Yep.
Even though I had practice tests, their practice tests are very broad in scope too, but I think I just got so boiled down on those basics. So that would be one of the things I do recommend. Just know the basics as best you can, but don't get stuck on that.
Yep. And the problem is on the technology side, sometimes you'll have multiple names for the same thing, and depending on how it's being used or how it sits or where it sits in the network, you can refer to it one way or the other, or maybe both ways. Mm-hmm. So, I can't discuss questions, but I can tell you there was a question that came up that had to deal with an end office. And the way that the question was worded, I flagged that as, hey, you can read this two ways. And just by adding a word in we made it very clear what the question was asking. So that's why we go through to that degree. And
Mhm.
if you look at the stats of where that question was used before, the majority of the people got it right, but there was a significant part that obviously misunderstood the question because there was an awful lot of people that chose the other answer.
Mhm.
So, oh, okay, well, let's fix that. And we either
Mhm.
fix the answer or maybe we fix the root question just by changing a word or
Exactly.
rephrasing a little bit. So, there's a ton of work that goes into each one of those test forms every single year to make that test as good as it possibly can be. And I got to tell you, I've been on the Nina Institute board for 10 years.
Mhm.
And, I'm finally going to move off into the Northeast Regional Director this year. So I had to give up my slot on the NIB. I'm going to miss taking those tests every year. Number one, because it doesn't matter what my answer is. I'm just
Right.
reviewing, right? I don't have to pass. But I love making the questions not hard, but making the questions logically challenging that you've got
Mhm.
to think about it.
Right.
I'm going to miss that. But everybody can submit questions.
Mhm. Okay.
So you should think about that.
Yeah.
You get Nina EMP points for submitting questions.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Of course it's a good point.
That's something I might look into, though.
But that's, there's a lot. Now that's another thing. Are you tracking your points for different things?
I will. I will.
Because you need to, because you guys do a lot of in service down by you.
Mhm.
I know you've got Chattanooga is like known for like the college of 911 internally. You guys have a training program that just beats all,
It's remarkable. It's really great.
which I hate to admit because of one of the people that created that, who will remain nameless, Steve Martini,
Mhm.
and who I love dearly. But there is, when I first met him, he was a training officer down there.
Mhm.
But and he was the same Steve back then. Hi, I'm Steve. Now he runs around Nashville with a shirt that says Martini Director. So go figure.
Mhm.
But tell me about your training down in Chattanooga because I think it's a model for the industry.
It's great. Like I said, um, we've done it a little bit different with COVID just to get people, try to get people onboarding a little bit quicker. But our normal training thing is like you do, I think it's an 8-week academy in house training just to get all your certifications. We go through, we use APCO for a lot of our training stuff. So you'll get your PST1, you'll get your fire service, you'll get your EMD, you'll get your law dispatch. We'll get all of that before you even hit the floor. NCIC, all of that stuff, all of those certifications, all handled before you even touch the dispatch floor. And then you do, I think it's 6 weeks of on the job training as a call taker. And once you finish that training, you get a bump in pay. And then we decide what discipline you're going to be. The training staff does. If you're tracking law enforcement, you'll start over there, obviously, and then fire and EMS. And once you complete all your training, you get another bump in pay, and then like you get 3 bumps in pay as you're training, as you complete each phase. And not that's just like the initial on the job training, but then there's so much more that comes with it too. We have our in services, we have continuing education credits that we can obtain and do on our own, or we can do in house with the training staff. With our IDU department, we do a lot of training with them as well, and IDU TERT. So, and it's a never ending process with the QA. And we do, like, as a supervisor, we do like real time reviews and stuff on when people are taking phone calls or radio traffic, how they're doing, to give them live feedback right there in the moment too. That's not weighted on their evaluations or anything. It's just literal feedback to do better or to encourage.
Now let me ask you the do you guys? I think the feature is called Whisper Page,
Mhm.
where you can talk in the earset of the call taker while they're on the
Mhm.
call. I
Yes.
know that's a feature of the system you guys have.
Mhm.
Do you guys use that?
All the time.
Do you really?
all the
I
time.
always wondered that because in a normal call center, when you're taking an Amazon order, they do that. Ask them, try to sell them this, but
Yeah.
that's not life safety.
No.
I could just see, will you shut up and let me do CPR?
Sometimes you get reactions when people are not expecting a voice in their head. But what I've learned to help people is like, as soon as I hear a break or a silence in that call, I'll say, "Hey, whoever, this is Sarah." So they know immediately that it's me coming in.
Gotcha.
And I usually just try to ask if they haven't asked already, like a certain question, or to tell them, "Hey, you're doing a really good job. Keep it up."
Okay.
Whatever I can do with people. So,
Nice. Now, do you have a portable phone that you can walk around the floor and do that monitoring with, or do you have to stay at your console?
I have to stay at my console if I'm doing that. But we do have
Okay.
portable phones where we can walk around and be mobile too, but just not do the monitoring, the live monitoring like that.
So I've seen centers that have the advanced mobile phone that actually lets them do the whisper, while they're walking around. So
That's cool.
somebody's over there and they're dealing with an active shooter, you can be on that call and then walk over behind them and not lose audio contact with the event, which I
That's
thought
really
was
neat.
really, really cool. I mean, the amount of times that you do that are probably limited, but boy, when you have to, what a cool feature, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna mention that to our people then to look into that.
Yeah, no,
It would be very beneficial.
that's a cool thing to be able to do. It's how about the technology from the just console side in the center from when you started to today? Have you seen a big change, or
Oh yes.
what's the biggest change?
Uh, just the most beneficial changes the integration of Rapid SOS and
Oh,
Prepared Live. We, especially with Prepared, it is amazing being able to get those videos and stuff of in house of like what's actually going on at the scene.
yeah,
That's amazing. Like we're doing a pilot program right now too, where we're trying to if there are two rescuers for CPR, getting one person to do video of the CPR so we can make sure that they're getting the proper recoil, making sure your
wow,
elbows are locked and stuff.
yeah.
And it's been a game changer. It's been an absolute game
When I
changer.
was with Avaya back at 2012, 2013, I actually worked with a couple of developers, and we built as a prototype basically what Prepared is doing now. I could not get one PSAP to go, hey, that's cool, let me try it out. They're like, what, are you kidding me? No way. And I'm like, no, 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 this is going to be useful. And they never patented it, they never shelled it. When I heard Prepared come out and pick that technology up and build it and
Mhm.
develop it, and when I see what they built with it, I'm like, way to go, man. Because you
Million
know
dollar idea.
well, you know what, everything is timing. And it's back then, in the early 2010s and even before, it was like, no, 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 we've got too much to do, I don't want to know, just leave me alone and let me do my job, pay me more.
Well, you are talking about, type A personalities and dispatchers. We're very stubborn too.
Yeah,
So.
but it was like, I had a couple of people that said, oh yeah, that would be cool, but
Mhm.
oh my god, I have so much crap going on right now, the last thing I'm interested in is video. And I'm like, but you don't know what you're missing. Once you see it, you're going to go like, oh my God, how did I not do this? But
Well, we actually
whatever.
used the prepared live video on an active shooter drill inside a hospital one day. So the
Wow.
responders could see it live too with us. And they were just like, y'all can do that. It's amazing. So like I said, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
My only hesitancy with it is a lot of us are on our side of the radio for a reason. And so seeing some of that graphicness, I'm worried about the toll on mental health that it can play with an already very consuming job.
Understand. And I'm totally sensitive to that. But I will say there is always one thing that's deployed on every technology, and that's the off switch,
Hmm.
right? And there's
Absolutely.
nothing wrong with saying, I don't want to see that.
Right. And I've actually done that. We had a very graphic CPR the other day. I'm not going to go into details of it, but as soon as my peers started trying to tell me about it, I was like, I'm good. I don't want to watch it.
Yep.
So, and I won't. I know my boundaries. I just hope that everybody else can learn how to hold those boundaries too.
Absolutely, because let me tell you, I was an EMT as well for years, and I was on the road for 5 years
Mhm.
going to calls. I've gone to CPR calls where the guy had a massive heart explode, and the family's there, and you're doing CPR on that
Yeah.
person, and stuff is happening, and you know what's happening. It's not pretty. It's not
Mhm.
something you want to see. It's not something that you need to see.
Right.
But oh my God, you cannot do CPR because the family is standing there. And
Mhm.
boy, I'm telling you, you got to wonder, am I making this worse for me and them?
Mhm.
I mean, you've got an obvious death, right?
Right. And that's a fine line that we have to walk, I guess, sometimes, and just go with your best judgment. But as long as
I
your
got kicked
intent
out.
behind it's the best. So,
One time I roll up on a car accident and it's this woman. She's hysterical. She's screaming and screaming and screaming. And she run in a telephone pole on the driver's passenger side, crushed the dashboard in on the seat. Car seat in the back or in the front. I'm sorry, because the laws back then weren't really what they should be.
yeah.
She's screaming, "My baby, my baby, my baby." Baby's nowhere to be found. Oh my God. I get down, I reach under the dashboard, and I feel what feels like cold skin.
Mm.
Get the jaws, pull the thing off. It was her freaking leather pocketbook. I am like freaking out. Like, oh my.
Absolutely. I
The
mean, can you
baby was
imagine?
with the babysitter at home. She was just so
She's so
out of
scared. And
control.
bless her heart and bless your heart. God Almighty.
I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Jimmy, we need the jaws. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah.
I can only imagine how terrifying that must have been for both everybody. Just like
Oh,
especially having that feeling. That's
I
your
just got I
gut
just got a
assumption.
lump in my that was probably 30 years ago and I just got a lump in my throat.
Absolutely,
Oh my God.
absolutely. I can't.
I can feel the gravel on my knees as I was kneeling down.
Hmm.
God. Oh. They talk about PTSD and unless I was talking to Tracy one day and I was just getting all upset over something or another and oh, I remember what it was. It was something that I had seen. It was a promo for one of the 911 shows.
Hmm.
And it was a call taker taking a really bad call and she just goes like that. Oh, I just got chills again. I don't know why that sets me off. But I'm
Hmm.
talking to Tracy about it and she's like, "Well, do you feel this? Do you feel this? Do you feel it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." She goes, "Dude, you got PTSD." And I'm like, "That was 30 years ago." Doesn't matter.
No,
And
PTSD has so many layers
And
to
like I
it.
said, just telling you about that right now, I just got chills down my back again.
Hmm.
Oh
Well,
my
I
God.
appreciate the vulnerability for talking to me about it. It takes a lot, but this
People
job, it really
don't
does.
realize when you're in this every day. I can't imagine what you have to deal with seeing the worst and the worst, hearing the worst and the worst. You know,
Yeah, like on our end,
but you're
there's
just secretarial clerical people, so it
exactly.
doesn't really matter.
Well, there's such a strong sense of helplessness with us because yeah, we're in a protected, safe environment, cool, but our people aren't always. The people that we're trying to help aren't, and
Well, you're not. You're not, Sarah.
yeah,
You're in a protected environment. You're not really in a safe environment because you're exposed and you
yeah,
can't hide.
yeah. Well, I meant like we don't have the bullets flying at us. We don't have people trying to gun us down in that moment, like some of the officers. That's what I'm talking about as far as the safety feature goes.
Hey,
Mental is a
it
different
hasn't happened
capacity.
again, but wait till you get an active shooter in a 911 center. It's going to happen one day.
Mm.
Unfortunately, with all the protective things that are there, it's going to happen one day.
It's not if, but when.
And it's not going to be pretty. I mean, it's just, it's just inevitable, right? But
Mhm.
and that's why people need to be aware and they need to be diligent. But I don't want to talk about that
Right.
because that's just terrible stuff.
Yeah.
So what do you have to recommend to people? How do I be like Sarah? How do I go through this industry as a newbie and become who you are and what you are as an empowered supervisor and an ENP and well on their way to a director.
Oh, that's big words right
How about
there.
that? How about that? Huh?
No, my
Fletcher said
biggest
I could be director. Okay.
no, my biggest thing was just keeping that motivation to keep learning and don't become stagnant. That's the biggest thing. Just you've got to have that drive and whatever it takes to pull yourself out of those moments of burnout. And for me, it's just immersing myself even more into the job and learning it so I can be have a better sense of control over it too.
How long have you been
So
a supervisor?
almost 4 years now.
So what do you do for your staff to
Mm.
watch for that burnout?
You have to know your people. You do have to know them. So I try to make it a point to go talk to people, just interact with them, and let them see me. Like I get on the floor a lot too, still dispatching and still call taking. So I try to keep myself humble because I'm still a dispatcher at my heart. It doesn't matter what my role is. I'm still a dispatcher. You know
Of
what I
course,
mean?
because that's what you found out the first week.
Right. Absolutely. But I love it, and I like to be able to have that community with my people too, and to let them know that I'm not unreachable by any capacity. But once you have that rapport built with people, then you can start picking up on the smaller little nuances of them if they're getting a little bit snippier with people or, if they're just being more isolated or reserved, if that's out of their character. That's what you pick up on. And so you check in. I'm real big on saying, what are you doing to take care of yourself? How are you being kind to yourself? What do you need?
What kind of
Yeah.
relationship do you establish with your folks outside of work? Do you guys
I'm
hang out or do you stay separated?
Yes and no. I don't like force myself on anybody by any stretch because I don't want to like invade and make someone feel like they have to hang out with my supervisor. Like I won't send a Facebook friend request, nothing like that to people unless they're my level or above because I don't want anybody feeling like they're obligated to be my friend.
But if they send you a friend request,
I'll accept it in a heartbeat.
there you go.
So, and if they invite us out, if we were able to go, sure, we'll go hang out for a little bit every now and then. But I also make sure people have my phone number and stuff. So I'm always available if they need me for anything like that outside of work. If they want to talk about personal stuff, I'm there. I just try to be there for people and so they're not alone.
Well, I got to tell you, you sound like a model employee. I don't know why your boss says what he says about you. I just, I'm
Thank
just
you.
kidding you, of course. Now, listen, you live in a beautiful area down there. I swear to God, when I went down for that business meeting, I literally got on the phone and called home and said, I know where we're going for vacation this year. It's Chattanooga. Chattanooga? What's in Chattanooga? I said, beautiful areas. And we went up to that restaurant at the top where the trolley or the tram goes
Hmm.
up. And,
Incline.
yep. And my daughter, she's in Nashville. She just oh my God, she's in Nashville. Oh God. But anyway, she just went there with her boyfriend to spend the weekend a few weeks ago, and she went up to the restaurant and she's telling me all this wonderful stuff. I'm like, Dad, Haley, don't you remember I brought you there? She's, oh yeah, that's right. But she thought it was. We got a great tour of your center down there.
Yeah.
She thought that was fantastic, and it's just that you know what, that part of the country is just a whole different type of people, and it's just friendly, 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 and I love it.
Well, thank you. Welcome to come back anytime.
Oh, trust me. The more people I know down there, the more people I come down and see. I've got that whole region now on PSAP tour. So, everybody in Metro Nashville and everybody out to Chattanooga, and you know what? Good. I love it, man. I love doing it because I love to see where things are going. Well, listen, thank you very, very much for sitting down, Liz. Thank you for what you do. Um, you are the epitome of a career dispatcher, and many good wishes for the continued years there, because I think you're going to be one of those people that is going to be, well, back in my day when I started, you know.
You
And
got
that's
a little bit
great.
already now.
Hang in there, though, because, the youngins need a role model, and you're the kind of person that can be that role model.
Well, thank
So,
you. Very kind of you.
no problem. I recognize, you know, raw talent and lust for the industry when I see it, and you are certainly someone that's got it. So, again, best of luck, and thanks again for what you do, and even being a supervisor and how you run your center. It's a role model to build your future and everybody else's future, and that's really commendable.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me on this, too.
Yeah. Sarah Austin, ENP. Get those letters behind everything.
Yes, sir.
All right. That is all. You are
you.
dismissed. Thanks very much. Well, that wraps up this episode of Off the Cuff, Confessions of an ENP. I'm Mark Fletcher, ENP, and I'm the Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Off the Cuff is sponsored by 911 Inform, delivering next-generation 911 solutions to the enterprise today and making every second count. Visit them on the web at 911inform.com. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at Fletch911. Check out all my blogs and podcasts at Fletch.tv. And be sure to like and subscribe below. That way you'll be immediately notified whenever a new podcast is published. Thanks so much for listening. If you're in public safety, thanks for what you do. Take care and have a great day.